You've probably been told before to avoid certain types of carbohydrates because certain types will spike your blood sugar too much and will eventually lead to fat gain. You may have heard something along the lines of, don't eat the white bread, make sure to eat the wheat bread because the white bread will spike your blood sugar too much. Statements like this originated from what's known as the glycemic index. In this video, I'll be explaining what the glycemic index is and if it matters and if you should pay attention to it when it comes to fat loss. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dustin Williams, and for the best nutrition, health, and fitness advice, make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that little notification bell so that you're notified when I post a new video every Wednesday. The glycemic index ranks carbohydrates by how fast they will impact the sugar or the glucose that's in your blood. This will help to determine what may potentially be what they call a slow digesting carb or a faster digesting carb. As an example, white rice is considered a high glycemic or high GI food, as it can potentially raise your blood sugar faster than something like celery, which is also a carbohydrate, that has a much lower GI or lower on the glycemic index that will have very little, if any, impact on your blood sugar. And as I mentioned earlier, many people have been instructed to only eat the lower GI foods, lower glycemic index, slow digesting carbs, whatever you want to call it. They've been instructed to only eat those, as the higher glycemic foods will increase blood sugar and therefore lead to more fat gain. But what does the research really say on this topic? Researchers took 107 men and women, and they were all considered either overweight or obese based on the BMI scale. And what they did is they divided them into 4 different groups. Each one of these groups had different amounts of carbohydrates and different loads on the glycemic index. So maybe high glycemic or low glycemic, but they equated the calories to be the same for all 4 groups. So in group 1, they did 55% of their calories came from carbohydrates, but they were all low glycemic index foods. Then in the next group, they did also 55% of their calories came from carbohydrates, but they were all high glycemic index foods. Then in the 3rd and 4th groups, what they did is they bumped their total carbohydrates to account to about 70% of their total calories. So they're eating more carbohydrates, but the same calorie intake, and then split that into the same 2 groups, 70% on low glycemic carbs and 70% of carbs and being all high glycemic. One of the better parts of this study is that during the first 22 weeks, all of the food was provided to all the participants. That helped better ensure that they were sticking and adhering to the guidelines, and also to make sure that they were having weight loss. The participants on average lost about 15.4 pounds over the fat loss period. The interesting part of this study is that there were no statistical differences in weight loss between all 4 groups. So if 55% of their calories were carbohydrates or 70% of their calories were carbohydrates, weight loss was the same. If they were on low glycemic carbs or high glycemic carbs, their fat loss was the same. So what does this study really tell us? Well, it tells us a couple of things. The first thing is that it seems that if you do moderate carbohydrate or higher carbohydrate, it doesn't seem to have any impact on weight loss as long as calories are matched. The second thing is that, again, as long as calories are matched, focusing on lower glycemic foods or higher glycemic foods has no impact on weight loss. Also, when it comes to carbohydrates, another question that I get asked pretty regularly is being able to eat carbohydrates later in the day or at night. I've actually done a video on this topic, and I will post a link in the description if you guys want to check that one out. Another point that is typically brought up is that these higher GI or higher glycemic index foods that will potentially spike your blood sugar will also lead to a drop in your blood sugar, causing it to go too low, which will potentially cause you to become hungrier than you should be a little bit quicker and drive overeating. But the literature has shown that factors like protein, palatability, the water content of food, that these things actually have a bigger correlation with satiety than the glycemic index does. Essentially, what does this all mean? Well, basically what it means is that don't worry about glycemic index as far as getting low glycemic index foods. Don't feel like that's what you need to do in order to achieve fat loss. My recommendation would be to focus on foods that are more nutrient dense whenever you're looking at carbohydrates. So take something like orange juice as an example. Orange juice is very high on the glycemic index and is supposedly going to spike your blood sugar. But whenever you look at orange juice, whenever it's natural, it's actually a very nutrient dense drink. It's loaded with a lot of different B vitamins, multiple minerals, potassium, very, very good as far as a micronutrient breakdown that most people may potentially avoid, specifically because it will spike your blood sugar. And understand that, again, going back to the study, that foods that are higher on the glycemic index will not affect your fat loss. So don't be afraid of foods that are higher on the glycemic index, but instead, when you're looking at carbohydrates, I would recommend that you try to focus on the carbohydrates that are the most nutrient-dense foods. And if you're looking to join a community of people that are looking to be healthier, I've actually got a free Facebook group that I would love it if you guys would check out, focusing on health and fitness and nutrition topics. I'll put a link below in the description if you want to request to join. And of course, if you found this video helpful or if you liked it, I would really appreciate if you would smash that like button, and I will see you guys in the next video.